say every week that I'm super excited for my guest, but this week I'm super, super excited for my guest because I feel like I've known her, at least known who she was for my entire life. There are very few people that get an opportunity to say that they have quite literally seen you grow up. I went to school with her daughter, and have always had admiration for the person that she is. I'm sharing a lot of my feelings for her, but what better way for you all to get to know her than have her introduce herself to you?
Hi, my name is Sandy Adams, and I wear many hats, but my most notable hats are I own Century 21 Pinnacle and Just Love Coffee Cafe in Berea. And at Century 21 Pinnacle, I love to empower my agents to be the best they can be for their clients, also while taking care of my personal clients. At Just Love, and it kind of goes with Century 21, but I'm passionate about creating a networking space where you can have great coffee, great food, meet great people, help businesses grow, which is my passion, my agents and my businesses. But at Just Love, one of the things that I feel honored about is that I get to help my employees grow both personally and professionally.
Mm-hmm. I love that. And I know that you don't take that lightly and that you do deliver upon the opportunity of not just giving them a job, but giving them something to have a space to grow as people and professionals. Um, Sandy, you have a really cool story. Can you tell our listeners about your background and how you came into just entrepreneurship and the real estate business?
Yes, born and raised in Hazard, so I'm 606 all the way.
Yeah,
I
I
do
love
have
that.
859. My husband and I met while we were working at Wendy's, so we have food experience.
There you
We
go.
moved to Richmond to attend EKU, and I have a paralegal degree. Bill has an accounting degree. Right before my second daughter was born, I had a local contractor in Richmond hire me, so I became knowledgeable with talking to contractors, paying contractor bills, learning the ins and outs of QuickBooks and property management. So I feel like that kind of between the paralegal and then the builder, I kind of molded me into the business side of it. And then when Haley was born, she became the youngest person in Kentucky to ever have whooping cough and survive. So I took a little bit of time off work, and I didn't know what to do with myself. I'd worked since I was 16 or been in school. And Bill comes home one day and says, "Guess what? I've enrolled you in real estate school." And I'm like, "No way. I can't stand people. I don't want to sell something. This ain't going to work." And we were already flipping homes at that time. So his thought was that we could save some commission and do it ourselves. And he had faith in me when I didn't. And so I went through school, cried every single day going to school, hated it. I came out, decided I was going to work with Century 21 in Richmond. Joyce Markham was the broker. I walked in the first day. She hands me a piece of paper, and it was a song. And I said, "What is this?" And she said, "You're going to sing this song in front of the board of realtors next week." And I said, "Oh, no. One, you haven't met me. Two, I can't sing. I'd clear the room. And three, there's no way." So I lip synced through it with the whole group. But interestingly enough, about 2 months later, she did get me to clog Cotton Eye Joe in front of a bunch of Madison County realtors.
Gosh, okay, well.
but I do love it. I used to always tell people when I was young, and I haven't told many people this, but I said I'd wear that gold jacket one day, not realizing what it meant. I don't wear the gold jacket.
Yeah.
But I do on the Century 21.
I love that. Well, hearing that, and this is the first question kind of off script, Sandy, I'll give you that warning. You had to learn at a young age, not just in your personal life, but professionally, what it meant to lean into the discomfort and to push through, even in something that you didn't enjoy.
Yes.
So when was that shift for you? Whenever you realized, oh, maybe I don't actually hate real estate.
So the good thing about the company that I started with Joyce Markham, she didn't let me work and take leads until I went through training. So I went through about a month's worth of going in and doing training, which is what I'm comfortable with. And as I started growing into my own skin, I thought, well, maybe this isn't so hard. I can do the paperwork. I can handle that part of it. The people, I'll figure it out, as long, because I realized it was 1-to-1, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm not good at a group, but I'm good at 1-to-1. So as I did that, and then I did my first deal, and they walked me through it. And when I got paid, I was just like, this is amazing. I have never
Yeah.
made this much money at one time in my whole life.
So that's when you got bit by the
I
proverbial
did.
bug.
I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so how long? So there's a difference, I imagine, at least, in being an agent and then transitioning into, I think the term is being a broker
Yes.
for your own office. What was that like for you? Just share with our listeners in terms of how you then thought, okay, how can I take this experience that I am growing myself, and how can I create that for other people?
So initially, whenever I decided to take the broker's exam, it was back to Bill saying, listen, we're buying and selling too much property. Let's just do this by ourselves. Our kids are young. You can stay home, which was awesome. You can
Mm-hmm.
stay home. You can take care of them. You can go to every ball game. You can go to every school event. Let's do that. Well, as soon as I passed my test, all these brokers started reaching out to me. Did you know you can own this company? Did you know you can own this company? Did you know? So I started doing research. At the time, the vice president of Realty World, was her office was in Lexington.
Okay.
So I liked the fact that when I needed help, she was 45
Right.
minutes away.
Yeah. Right up the road.
So she started talking to me and transitioning to me, and it just kind of organically happened. And I
Mm-hmm.
still wasn't prepared to have agents. So I sat down, made a plan, sent out recruiting lists, and I had like 12 agents in 2 months.
Oh,
So then I
wow.
had to, yeah, I had to
Okay.
adjust.
All right. Well, so talk to me a little bit about um, the importance of the concepts of trust and empowerment, especially when, I mean, your name is on the side of that building and your name is on those agents' business cards and the yard signs. It's, I mean, real estate is an industry where name recognition is important, and you have a
Yes.
lot of people representing not just Realty World, now Century 21 Pinnacle, but they're representing Sandy and Bill Adams.
Yes. Well, I'm a big reader, and you know
Mm-hmm.
how I feel about John Gordon. We've talked about him before, and one of my
Uh-huh.
favorite books is The Energy Bus. And having the right people on your bus is a big deal, not only on the bus, but in the right seat. So early on, I knew I couldn't do it by myself.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to find a team of leaders that I thought was perfect for our office. Now, at the same time all this was going on, I had I had one day to do it, but I wrote a 40-page HUD proposal to get the HUD listings in Kentucky, and I got them.
Oh, wow.
So during all this time, I became overwhelmed because I thought, how can I run this business? They promised me 200 listings my first year, which they delivered. How can I do all this? And then there was this guy. He was a pain in my side. And every day when, my Haley was at kindergarten at Berea Community School, and his youngest son also was in
Yep.
kindergarten,
Yep.
and we had to get out of the car to go pick them up. And I wanted to go from real estate to mom. That was my, I could stopping point for the day and become mom. And he just wouldn't stop. All he did was talk real estate. Everybody over there knew him. They talked about real estate, and I would just tell Bill, he's driving me crazy.
Yeah.
Then Bill said, recruit him. And I
Okay.
thought, interesting. So I started talking to him, and he's like, no, I'm pretty happy. Well, when the HUD contract came along, and I said, I just can't do it. I met him at Walmart one night by accident, and I said, listen, I need your help. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
asking you to leave your current broker. I know you love him, but I need your help.
Right.
Next day, he came and talked to me, and he's been my friend and confidant, and he has grown my business ever since. And I couldn't have done it without him. And for those of you who don't know who that is, it's Brad Warford.
Uh-huh.
He's been a top selling agent in Berea for 20 years. He's amazing, and he's actually helped me take that from my vision to grow it, and then
Mm-hmm.
to go even farther. Because I was selling HUD properties and because I was selling so many foreclosures, my competitors started recruiting my agents saying they're just a foreclosure company. They only sell foreclosures. And it was just me, 30 agents, just me selling it. So I thought, there's a problem. How do I fix it? So I fired myself
Okay.
as the principal broker, and I hired Vonda Sipple, who's been a great person in the community. Her and Dan have a great name recognition and a great, they're just great people. So she is now my principal broker. So her and Brad are taking my vision and helping it grow into what we hope it will become.
I love that. Well, and it's just that alone is just an example of trust and empowerment. And it is risky
Mm-hmm.
because you're giving someone the keys to essentially your dreams.
Yep.
Um, but you can't do it, you cannot do it by yourself.
No.
And a lot of, I use the term young, not in the context of age, just in the context of businesses, young professionals oftentimes feel like they need to keep things close to their chest out of fears of someone taking it, but it shouldn't be that way. Because when you do surround yourself with the right people, they're the ones that can help take you to that next level and to be your blind spot mirrors, per se. So, a lot of our listeners, I think you touched on this at the beginning with Just Love, and they're thinking, okay, what is Just Love? Just Love Coffee. How many locations are there in the United States,
Just
Sandy?
a little less than 50.
Okay, so they're very much sort of in their infancy, toddler
Yes.
stages
Yes.
in when it comes to name brand recognition.
Yes.
So tell us about Just Love, how that came to fruition, and your
Okay.
all's entry into the coffee customer service event space world.
So Just Love isn't our first coffee shop. I owned a coffee shop back in the day. It's, again, one of my many things. I went from the paralegal to coffee shop.
Okay.
With Just Love, the building next door came vacant, and it sat there for a little while. And Bill and I thought maybe if we bought it, we could control the narrative
Uh
next
huh.
to us.
Uh huh.
What our initial plan was, it's 3,000 square feet. We were going to divide it into three spaces and have maybe a lender and a title company and actually move our office over there.
Okay.
Bill kept saying, you know how Capital One has these cafes in their stuff now that they're advertising? We should do a cafe. You know how to do that for all three of those places. And I was, I don't know if I want to do that. That's, time consuming and
Mm-hmm.
hard. And he's like, but you don't have any young kids anymore. You can spend more time on it. I'm like, you keep giving me all these jobs.
Yeah, Bill's quite the delegator.
He is. He is. So I started doing research. Again, I'm a reader and researcher at heart. So and we have two children. Again, I said that earlier. Haley was my youngest. Cassie is my oldest, who at the time was working for a company that foster care.
Okay.
So when I looked up through Just Love, our founder wanted to find a way to help people with the expenses and hardship of adoption. So he immediately lined up with my values. So
Mm-hmm.
he gives money, hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. That was his goal. He loved coffee, and he loved helping people. So that started it. His passion aligned so much with mine because I do believe we're missing that in our community. We
Oh
say
yeah.
we want to lift each other up, but do we really want to lift it? Do we really?
Yeah.
I want to put, I really wanted to create a space that you could get together, laugh, have events,
Mm-hmm.
grow, not only as a
Mm-hmm.
person or a business, but the community to grow as well. So it just all lined up, and we still do. I found out yesterday we do have a new coffee blend coming that actually they will donate money to orphans and widows.
Okay.
I'm excited about that.
I did not know that was, you and I've talked a few times about Just Love, but I did not realize that was sort of their philanthropy,
Yes.
was children in foster care and adoption services. I had no idea that was their mission, but it makes sense. So you all opened Just Love Cafe. Was it in 2022 or 23?
Yes. 2022.
Okay. Um,
We've been open a little over a year.
that's hard to believe. It
I know.
and I will give you a shout. It's one of the best Americanos that I have had, and I love a good. It's hard to find a good Americano, the perfect balance of espresso and boiling hot piping water.
My favorite drink there, by the way.
Okay, there you go. You good taste, Sandy. I knew I liked you. Um, So, what has it been like? And this is another kind of off-script question, but in the landscape of HR, you hear a lot about it's so hard to find good workers or good team members. But I will say, I visit your all's establishment regularly, and you don't have a lot of now hiring signs plastered in your windows. Do you think that's a made up fallacy? Is it legitimate when business owners in the industry, customer service, which is more, of course, than just coffee, with finding good people? Talk to me a little bit about that and our
We
listeners.
have been extremely blessed. Most of the people that are working for us now were here in the beginning
Mm-hmm.
and they waited on us.
Mm-hmm.
So we were extremely blessed. And we know no one's goal is to work in a coffee shop forever. So we understand that. So my role is I want those people, those employees to know how much we care about them and that we know we have the unique opportunity to help them grow
Mm-hmm.
into the professional person they're going to become down the road. And if I can teach them just one lesson and make them better, then I feel like I have accomplished so much because I have a platform that most people don't have.
Yeah. Well, and I love that in terms of investment into people. Um, you know, Sometimes you'll hear, and I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this with individuals. They'll say you just got to make sure you pay the most, and I've never agreed with that. And you're shaking your head no. So, what do you feel like are some of those characteristics, or like when it comes to retaining people, pouring into them, but what are some examples of, showing people that you care for them that work for you?
So I believe that it's only about money in the absence of value. Now, I do
Okay.
want them to be paid what they should be paid, but I want to show them that they are worth my time and they're worth my effort. So we have employees of the month.
I love that.
When I come into the store, I don't work there every day. I laughed when we started and said, guys, I'm your landlord. This is Bill and Haley's baby. They
Yeah.
do love that part of it. But I'm making a note to speak to every single person that's working. No matter what, I make sure they know I'm there if they need
Mm-hmm.
anything. We have one employee who is about to graduate high school.
Okay.
And I said, what is it you want to be when you are done? And he tells me these things. And then he says, and a real estate agent. And I said, now you're
Yeah.
talking my language. So I'm going to help him get books and help him get started and make sure that's what he wants to do.
I love that. And you know what you said there, Sandy? Everyone, I feel like, knows, not because I was well known, but because I talk about my previous experience at Marriott because I loved it. And one of the things that I miss the most is the engagement. And I made it a point, because I saw very early how important it was to do this, but it was to go on rounds, just
Mhm.
walking throughout the hotel, sometimes upwards of 4 times a day. But we had a daily stand up of managers. But I would come in, to work. I would arrive around 8ish. I would set my things down in my office and would walk around to say good morning, hi, hello, and just have small talk conversation. And to your point, have those touch points.
Yep.
But another thing that I was very intentional about doing was my office for the first 3 years of my time there. Well, maybe it's just the first 2 years, but still, was off the employee break room of all places. Um, Talk about confidentiality of HR. There was none. Um, but I built so many relationships with employees just being with my office right there because you had to go through the break room to get to my office. And something that was really cool about our ownership group was we had a free hot meal for each shift. We didn't do breakfast, but we had lunch and dinner. And sitting out there and just eating with them, with employees, and just hearing about how their kids are, how their siblings are, and their dreams, their aspirations. Because a lot like, Just Love, majority of the employees at Marriott, that was not their final destination. It was just a bridge for them to make their rent payments, cover
Yep.
their cell phone bills, to make sure that they were working towards something. And what you said there, so many business owners miss the importance of just recognition.
Yep.
Recognition. Um, so, you know, we kind of touched on this, but workforces, they're very different. How have you had to shift your style when it comes to working with and managing the people of Century 21 Pinnacle versus managing the team there at Just Love Coffee?
Well, both of them are, I'm in the people business. So coaching and mentoring is my favorite part.
Mm-hmm.
I have actually moved into that role into Century 21. I meet with the agents that want to meet with me on a monthly basis, and we divide into their goals and what their plans are. And I'm their accountability partner. So if they
I
don't do
love that.
something, I tell them, this is what you promised to do.
Mm-hmm.
Not in a mean way, but this is how you grow.
Mm-hmm.
So with I'm not as in depth with the management part of Just Love. So I'll just say I come in and make sure that I'm the chief morale officer,
I love
and
that.
I come in and I really just want to get to know them and talk to them. Many of them know that when I come in, I just say, make me a drink,
Mm-hmm.
make me something to eat. I let them be creative because
Okay.
it's a creative space for them. Even though we're a franchise and we do have certain menu items, we can also go off menu. Haley loves to make me things that she creates.
Mm-hmm.
Eric and Thomas love making me coffee. Most of them don't mind. You know, usually I will say if I don't say I want an Americano, I say just make me something.
I love that.
So I enjoy because in both places, life is hard. And it's even though it's a job, it's just a means to your personal goals. So your personal goals is probably not to sit and sell real estate or sell coffee or come to work every day. But for me, my grandchildren are important. And that's another lesson Brad taught me. He told me he bought a bunch of land way before COVID. And I said, why are you buying all this land up? He said, for my grandchildren. Well, Brad doesn't have any grandchildren, but that stuck with me to the point where he's right. What are
Oh,
my
yeah.
goals? My legacy is my grandchildren. So
Mm-hmm.
everything I do is for my grandchildren. Everything each employee at each place does is for a bigger purpose than where they're at. So I get to help them along the way.
Well, and, as you're talking there, Sandy, I think a lot about, um, I notice this in the networking group that we're a part of, is that a lot of times you are not the person, you're not the loudest person in any room for the most part, unless you're forced to sing Cotton Eye Joe. um, but you you have a lot to offer in that you seem to be someone that places a really strong emphasis in personal development. And there's something that another member shared, and I think that you actually shared the quote. And correct me if I get this wrong, but it's is it all or something?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Um, and I see that in how you pour into. It's almost like as you're coaching people, it's like even if you don't reach the destination, the pursuit of greatness is arguably more important than arriving at the destination.
Yeah, we forget that sometimes. We try to worry about what happens in the past and what happens in the future. We can't control what anyone else says or does, but there's a reason it's called the present. It's because it is a present, and that's the only
Mm-hmm.
moment that we are in right now.
Mm-hmm.
So all this other stuff, while we do, I've made a ton of business mistakes. If I knew things in my early teens and early 20s that I know now, I might not, I might be retired. I don't ever see myself retiring. I love it too much. But
Yep.
if I can help somebody from my experience know what mistakes, I said last year was very hard for me because we went from one company to another. So I wasn't focused on some other things in my business plan that I should have been. So I didn't hit all my goals last year. I hit a
Right.
major goal, but I didn't hit them all. But that's okay. I can work through that.
Oh yeah, and that's the piece too. And I'm glad that you said that and that you're so honest. One of the things that I tell my team members that work with me with Equip is that I want Equip to be a safe space for you to fail.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you fail, it's at least showing me that you're trying.
Yep.
And I just, one of my pet peeves is when individuals will just sit back. My dad would always say, no plan lets things happen, and a plan makes things happen. And that's always stuck with me, in that it's not about checking all the boxes, but it's about getting your shins kicked while you're trying,
Yeah.
because at the end of the day, you're still getting experience.
Yeah.
Um, so,
No, don't get me wrong. I like checking off things and
yeah.
hitting things, but I also understand with time, it's okay if I'm $10 off, or that's still a fantastic goal. Or even if I'm $25,000 off. When I started selling real estate, when I told you I'm from Eastern Kentucky, I'm the daughter of a coal miner
Uh huh.
who didn't work full time all the time because they'd be laid off sometimes, maybe
Oh,
once a
yeah.
year. So
Mm-hmm.
he said, "You'll be lucky if you ever make $30,000 selling real estate." So that's another ceiling that was placed on me, and he didn't mean anything by that. He still tells my brother, "You should work in a factory."
Yeah. Yeah.
That's just his generation.
And it's just, yeah, absolutely. It's just that perspective. But sometimes, like just exactly what you've done with your life and your choices, it's like kind of bet, like just watch me.
Yeah,
But if you don't get out and just try, then you won't.
right.
And there's a lot to learn with that.
We put a lot of focus on what people will think about us if we fail, but the truth about it is they really don't think about it at all. It's just us.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And I love that you say that, because it's so true, in that we get so hyped up about what people will think, when in reality, most don't think about it at all. And those that do, they're sort of irrelevant because they're not
Yeah.
doing it themselves.
Yep.
Well, Sandy, I appreciate you and everything that you're doing for those that are in your circle. And I'm thankful that you're in my circle. And I love the mission of Just Love. For those of you that are in and around Central Kentucky, please be sure to stop by and check them out. If you are in the market of selling a residential or looking to buy commercial, or sell, of course, reach out to Century 21 Pinnacle. I know that they will take care of you because they take care of their people. Thanks so much for being a guest today, Sandy, and thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of Overall HR.
Thank you so much.